Hi, my name's Alicia and welcome to a new video. If you're new here, I've been a nomad for over 10 years with the love of my life, slow traveling to over 25 countries now, and I've had many six-figure years doing what I love. I'm currently at the tail end of a summer trip in Canada catching up with friends and family, and the past year I've been on a health recovery, and in the pockets of time piecing together my new brand Rebel Rising. I'm excited to start peeling back the layers with you and sharing what I've been learning. I've come to value taking my time and slowing down, how the best outcomes have come from intentionally crafting life itself. Coming back to Canada always feels a bit like escaping. The heat, the hurricanes, the intensity of Mexico's summer. But this year, I started to resent that. I wanted to work, to create, to move forward. But my body and my truth both said not yet. I needed more time. I couldn't keep forcing old rhythms. I needed to slow down and fully integrate this lesson. I've also been battling with whether I should create lifestyle or training content, and in the end, I decided to make my own fusion and start somewhere to get the ball rolling. Sometimes trying to know everything off the bat is holding you back from gaining momentum. I've got months of epic nature and adventure footage that I want to share, and so many insights on brand development that are beaming to come out. So, if you are building a brand and you know at your core that you are a rebel, you're in the right place. Watch until the end where I share my thought process for elevating the Rebel Rising logo to match where we are heading. Let's dive in. The weeks before I left were a blur. We had so much going on. Doctor's appointments, paperwork, loose ends, everything hitting at once. We got our permanent residency for Mexico finally, and we're so excited! Troy was deep in build mode, and I was deep in recovery. These felt like two completely different worlds. I was craving stillness, softness, and bestie time. The morning I left, it was raining torrential. This kind of felt so wild. It felt cleansing.
Oh my god.
And by the next morning, coffee in hand, I could feel our bestie summer chapter beginning. The one we'd been dreaming up all year in our WhatsApp conversations and Pinterest boards. Hello! Doggy, so cute! My bestie and I have known each other since grade 8. Back when we would do our hair wild and crazy in her basement. I'd been growing out my highlights for the last 2 years, not sure what to do next. She kept saying how incredible that grow out part looked on me when I'd send her pictures, and that I should go back to my natural. This summer, we both felt it. It's time to go back to my roots, to own that deep, rich, chocolatey hair again. I was nervous though. Those highlights felt fun and made me stand out. They became a part of me. While pulling clips for this video, I realized something wild. In 2020, my hair was natural. And then I decided to start highlighting it. Why? I looked amazing. It's hilarious how sometimes we drift from what was working just to circle back to it years later. This haircut marked the end of an era. I was ready for something different. I wanted to feel whole, healthy, and rich. It was the perfect time in my recovery to change it up. An external identity shift to match how I felt inside. As soon as we washed it out, we both knew. Instant yes. It just looked like me. The fried ends were gone. I felt lighter. It was easy. It was effortless. And this is what the new rebellion is all about. The theme of coming home to myself started showing up everywhere, even in my brand. So next, I'll show you how I evolve the Rebel Rising logo to match where we're headed. Let's peel the layers back and go behind the scenes on my thought process and thinking style for upgrading the Rebel Rising logo. So, funny story about this, I was literally just going to slap a bunch of images on a blank canvas and scroll to the right and kind of explain the thought process. But as I was doing that in Figma, I ended up in one of their new features and it asked, what do you want to create? And I said, I want to create a presentation to showcase the thought process of upgrading my logo. And then it put together this whole cool presentation for me. Now, I wanted to own full creativity and the whole project because I kept timing out on daily credits and having to wait another day. And I was like, this is so annoying. I'm not going to buy another freaking AI. So we have Claude Code Max, which is amazing, by the way. And so I just basically took this concept into there and made my own version. And honestly, it took like 40 minutes from start to end with all my content inside of it. So I'm excited to share this with you. It's a lot prettier than what I was even going to do. And let's just dive right in. So this is the original Rebel Rising logo. I've shared it a little bit, but honestly, the whole Rebel Rising vibe is happening mostly behind the scenes still. The past year with my recovery, I've been putting it together and building the infrastructure and really like thinking about each layer and spending time on it. So even this logo process was a couple of weeks in the making. And that's kind of why I wanted to share this process with you is I really think great things take time and they take thought, right? And I just made a post on Facebook that was like, brand is taking your ideas to full execution. And I really think this is such a great demonstration of that. So the original Rebel Rising logo, the vision came to me so clearly. It was 2 R's with a lightning bolt through the middle. There was grittiness, there was distress, and some edginess to it, right? And this is what I created. Now, I absolutely love this logo, but where I'm taking the brand and what I want to do with it, I quickly realized as I have started to roll things out more publicly that this might not be the logo that is going to take me and this brand where it needs to go. So there was some challenges. I realized there was already some market saturation. I had started to see other logos with 2 letters and a lightning bolt through the middle, and being the rebel that I am, I was like, this isn't that interesting anymore. Other people are doing this and it's not fun. Like to me, that's an instant like, wah, wah. And so I really wanted the logo to have world-class quality. And in this process, I started looking at like skateboarding brands, 90s logos, big brands, and things like that. And one of the logos that really stood out to me for some reason was Under Armour. I should put it up right here, but I loved just the simplicity of it, how a few strokes can tell the whole brand story. And it's recognizable, it's clean, and it's production ready, which was a really big, important piece for this logo upgrade. I wanted it to be able to go across all platforms and all types of media, from my merchandise to social media content, YouTube, everywhere, print ready, everything. So my first thought was, maybe the Rebel Rising logo will be an icon. And so I created these little mood board, design boards, if you will, to kind of start playing around with different icons and seeing, do any stand out to me? Do they speak to the brand ethos? And are they giving this world-class sort of feel that I want, this timeless energy? And so I made many more than this, but these were just some of the icons that I came up with, right? Sun, skull, lightning, snake, all these different things. Star, mountain, cactus. I really see the Rebel Rising brand as like this desert vibe, if you haven't been able to tell yet from the different things I've created. And, you know, cattle, eagle, different icons like this, spiral, flame. And so I did like these, but there was one that kind of stood out to me. And which one do you think that is, by the way? So from these and the other ones that I created, actually this one kind of started to stand out to me, the torch. Because I was like, this kind of goes with the vibe. The rebels that I work with, they have a voice, they have something to share through their specific mediums, whether that's writing, design, creativity, development, etc., leadership. There's this torch that you're holding, right? And I was like, I could get behind this. I do really like this, you know? I started to realize, though, that the icons didn't have the it factor that I was going after. I still wanted something cleaner, really recognizable, and that could stand with the big brands. Basically, when I got obsessed with the Under Armour logo, one day we actually went shopping and I ended up in the Under Armour store and I had the most incredible experience, and I bought a pair of sneakers and Troy bought a pair of sneakers and we loved it. And I was thinking, could my logo sit on the face of this mall and stand with all these other logos? Is it going to look cheesy? Is it going to, fade out in a year or two and be kind of like look dated? Or is it going to sit there proud and stand out and be recognizable, right? So I started asking myself this question. And I took the torch and I wanted to bring the R's back into it. So what are the different ways I can play with RR and a torch, right? So I created a bunch of more mood boards or logo design boards and came up with all these different ones. There was some other ones I had that were like a little bit too out there and they weren't really speaking to me, so I didn't put them here. But I loved this style where it has like the two layers here of the torch, the flame, and then this part of the R was like the handle. And I was like, I really like that actually. I do love how it feels. So I started to draw one day. We were heading to the city and I just started to play on my paper with all these different orientations of R's, like lowercase r, uppercase R, and different sort of like directions. You can see I have the Under Armour logo here as my inspo, and I drew the torch one again, and I was like really sitting with this for a few days. I couldn't get it out of my mind. I was like, I kind of like this. I played with this orientation of the R's back to back, but I kind of thought it looked more like an insect, a little bit more quirky, whereas this one felt cleaner and more world-class in regards to all of these. So I sat with this for a few days and I realized that I wanted to come back to the basics again. The torch concept was still a little too obscure and not the standard that I was aiming for. I examined the big brands again. There's a bee right here. Come on, go over there. I examined the big brands like Under Armour as my kind of like inspiration. I love the simplicity and I really wanted it to be a few strokes that tell the entire brand story. So I got curious about how we could put together these RRs. There's some cursive styles. These are more just like really going far out there and playing with different styles. And then these ones were more bold, a little edgy and fun. So I made many more of these boards, by the way, but these are just the ones I put here to show you guys. And there was some top contenders. So from these, which ones do you think they were? There are a few of them on here. So these were the top contenders. These kind of more clean, cursive style. This boulder RR like this with the lightning bolt here. We have the flame sort of in the negative space, which I loved. And then this one that was very clean. So I was also looking at different brands that were RR or R and how they played with R in their logo. And there wasn't that many interesting ones. There's like Rolls-Royce, which is kind of like a simple one like this, like script, and two of them. Well, it's not really script, but there's like two of them in this kind of like simple font. And so I sat with this again. And I actually created these at the gym. And as soon as I made this board, I saw the one that I loved. So let's talk about it. The final! So the final evolution was playing with this. So these two came up on the vision board that I created. I keep calling it a vision board, the design board. I really like these, but I noticed that I wanted them to be symmetrical. So you can see I made this kind of like edit note here for myself. Like, let's see what it looks like with this chunk out of there and matching. And this is what we ended up with. I'm honestly so happy because, like I said, I actually love this logo still, the original. I love it, but because it's off-centered and a little off-balance like this, it's really hard to put it into all the different mediums that I want to use it. But when I saw this and when I created this with this slant out, I loved how it creates this like these two up rising sort of symbols, because in some of the concepts I also created, we were playing with like arrows or like up curves or different ways to demonstrate like the rising part, but it just felt too like it just didn't have that vibe that I wanted. So this logo is perfect. It's clean, symmetrical, level. It gives the vibe that I'm going for. And I really see that I can grow with this logo for years and years to come. Forever is the goal, right? Like, I want this to be everywhere. And, you know, if I think about, say, embroidery on merch here, it will embroider so clean. It'll look so good. And that was one of the main importances to me. So this is the new logo. I hope you guys enjoyed this process, my thinking process of how I got here. Hopefully it will inspire you and how you think about your brand and how you're putting together the different elements of your brand.
Rebel Rising is the brand, and I have a product that I'm going to be releasing very soon. More on that later. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next Thursday.